So, on today's podcast, we have the most famous expat in the whole of Murcia. We're going to be blessed with Shaun Expat in Mazarrón. That's his YouTube channel, and he's got a great story to tell us today about his journey to Spain. So remember that you can also listen to this podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify, you can also watch the video on YouTube. Okay then, right. So without, we're not going to wait at all. We are going to bring in Shaun straight away. Hang on a minute. I'm still getting used to this technology. There you go. How you doing there, Shaun? You okay?
Yeah, well, thank you, Chris. Anyway, before we get on with it, I just want to wish you all Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one.
Yes, 2025. Can't say as I'm really looking forward to the new year. We didn't have a particularly bad 2024, but but I can't say as I'm not happy to move into 2025, to be honest with you. Yeah, just with the arm break and everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
Did that, and it was one of those years. It was a strange year, but I'm really looking forward to 2025. What about yourself?
Yeah. I think the past couple of years after COVID, it's sort of been a long drag into it. Really, I had lots of things planned, and because nothing really took off again, which has sort of been lingering. And I think last year things were just starting to pick up. So hopefully this year we're going to go straight into it. There'll be lots of stuff happening. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to 25, and Brilliant. Also I'll be a lot older.
There's that as well. Age is just a number. Age is just a number.
Tell my body that.
Well, tell my belly that. It doesn't want to go away.
I'm not going to say nothing about that, Chris.
Where did this come from in the last 4 years or so? I don't know.
I don't know. The good living, as they say, isn't it?
That's what it is. 2024 can't have been too bad, can it?
No.
Well, anyway, so what I wanted to talk about on the podcast now this year and talking about 2025 is we're just doing this really to give people stories of people who have moved to Spain, success stories like yours, your YouTube, and and also just to give them an insight into what it's like to actually live in Spain. And I noticed, first of all, and we're going to come on to your YouTube channels, but I did notice that you're also getting people on yours now, which I thought was brilliant because any content like that where there's real people sat with real people is so beneficial, so much more beneficial than Facebook scrolling. That's what people need to see. But before we get into that, then I want to go right back in. I want you to tell me why did you move to Spain? What was that eureka moment? Tell me.
Okay, so I suppose really, what it was, we're going back into sort of late 70s, and my dad used to go on holidays around the world, sort of thing, in his missus, and they'd gone to Spain. And anyway, he come back. I think my first child was born, Sarah. Well, she's just born, and my dad coming back to me. So I've got to meet you guys. So he come in and said, right, I'm going to tell you now, we're selling up. If you want to, he said, I'm not going to come back to the UK anymore. So you're going to have to come over to Spain. And I was sort of, what? What, selling up? Yep. That's what he done. He had gone back. My mum had stayed back in Spain to sort out the, stuff you have to do, buying a property. He'd come back to put the house in the market. I think within a couple of months he had sold it completely. And he just packed up his stuff. And that was it. So I didn't see my dad again for quite a while. I think we didn't go out because Sarah's still quite small. And I think when she was about 5, we went over there. And as soon as I got there, I think it must have been like Easter times. And it was nice and warm. And it was sunny. And just looking at my dad, he looked completely different. He looked, I mean, even though he was still like doing jobs and whatever, and he was in his sort of late 50s then, and he just looked so relaxed, you know, and he was enjoying his sort of life really, going out for walks, going exploring. He'd just go off on his own thing, but he would still do odd jobs. And I think by seeing that, that started it all. And he was down in Malaga way, where you are, Chris.
Right.
So after that, every couple of years, you know, we'd either catch the plane over or we'd
What year was this, Shaun? So what year did your dad move over, do you reckon, more or less?
So my dad sort of, it had to be probably 79, coming in the, no, sorry, go on, what I'm thinking about, no, it's got to be late 80s then, yeah, late 80s, because I just remember now, my daughter wasn't born until the 80s. That's what I mean, you lose track of time, but yeah, it must have been the late 80s. I'd gone over there because my dad lived on the outskirts of Malaga, and to be honest, then it was busy, but it once have built up then as it is now. It's changed a lot, and after I don't know about 10 years, he then moved into a town called oh God, it's near that place called Coin.
The Coin, Alarin Grande or Monda.
No, keep going.
Cartama.
Oh, that's it. Cartama Station, because had a small train station there. Because another thing we found, which was amazing, is we used to come off the airport straight onto the tram system, and it would take us straight to their village. And they had a little house in the town there. And even that town over the years just got bigger and bigger. They had the high speed line put in as well. And it virtually that Cartama was not far from the actual city, really. It encroached it so much. You know, one time it was in the middle of nowhere. We used to go out for loads of walks, and then I think the last time I went over there, there were so many motorways we had to go under for walks and whatever. It just changed it completely, but it didn't put me off. And while we was visiting my dad, I got remarried again, and when we started looking at, because we didn't think we could afford to buy a villa when we're talking 2005 maybe, and we was looking at mobile home sites. And I think this is obviously all before the big crash happened, you know, the boom, and price of land was so expensive. So that's why we was looking at mobile homes, and there seemed to be quite a few in that area anyway. Yeah, go on then. Anything else?
That was nice. So Cartama. I know Cartama very well, and it has grown.
Yeah,
I mean, now when you knew it, Cartama would have been Cartama Station on one side of the river and Cartama the other side of the town.
That's right. Yeah.
They've joined virtually. Just the river separates them now. It's all the industries come down the hill. You've got where the big gap was. You've got we take our kids there. They've got this huge play park thing. And 2 supermarkets, the typical Lidl's, a Burger King. Who'd have thought you'd see a Burger King in Cartama Station? You know, it's terrible, but so yeah, I know it has grown. And right when you're talking about back then in 2000, we bought a house actually inland in 2006, and you know, even now 20 years later, we never get back what we paid for it. And the mobile home thing was huge, but there was also quite a lot of scams back then with the mobile home.
Well, this is what did put us off at one period, because one of the mobile home sites that we were looking at was a new site, and it was like an agent, and this guy used every year in Bewley, they would put on like a mobile home, you know, place in the sun sort of thing. And he put us in contact with some people the last time we was over in Spain to visit this site. We fell in love with it. We were going through we nearly put a deposit down. But when I got back to the UK, I thought I'd just do a bit more checking. And then I started finding out a lot bit of information about this guy. He was taking people's money because they, bought a van on the site and he wasn't paying the site fees. And also he was just ripping people off. And thankfully, we didn't carry on with that. And I think when that happened, that sort of put a stop to us. Because the other thing my dad said to me was, because it was in the middle of nowhere, when you get older, is that a good idea? Because you don't think about it. Doctors, transportation, getting back to the airport and things like that. So I think it was about another 5 years or so, we forgot about Spain really. And then obviously when the crash happened and everything dropped out, well, the prices were going through the roof, and then it all went the other way, and it sort of really put us off. And then not thankfully, but we got made redundant, and I think the redundancy, we were sort of 55-ish then, and then we thought maybe we should go back to Spain, So we looked. So I'll let you carry on.
No, I was going to say. So you're just talking about that. What you said about the people moving out into the country. It's quite a big subject, that. And I call it the Finding Nemo effect. Have you ever seen Finding Nemo? Right at the end of the film, where the fish
we're on about, aren't we? Yeah.
He's in the bag and he finally makes it to the sea. Yeah. Right, and he lands in the sea and then realizes he's still in the bag. It's like, what do I do now? And I've had it with a lot of my clients. I sadly lost a client a few years ago now, be over 10 years ago now, but who lived up in a house, their dream property, but they sadly fell through a shower, got a bad cut, and the ambulance, and they sent a helicopter, weren't able to get there in time for to save him, and it was unnecessary if he was close to somewhere else. So, when we're talking to people, we always, you always got to be a bit careful. And I live a little bit out in the country. I need a car to get places, but we think as you get older, having that structure around you, that you need. I think you need to be close to an ambulance. It sounds horrible, but you do.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I have heard a few stories where people have lived out in the campo, and because they live down a long track, the ambulance won't go down it. No. So you got to get whoever it is injured, be it your wife or your partner, whatever. You have to get them in the car, get them to the ambulance. Which depending on what's happened to them, it can be quite serious, can't it? I mean, another thing I've found as well with people living out in the country, after a while they become isolated because there's nobody there. They've got nobody to talk to. And I think after a few or 4 years that they start to get depressed. And the idea, I mean, it was the same with us when we was looking about living out in the country. We thought, almond trees, we could pick all the almonds. But listening to other people, it's hard work. You don't get hardly any money for it. And obviously transport, getting it backwards and forwards down the old, you need probably a 4x4, and then you got other problems with sometimes some people that buy a finca in the middle of nowhere, only to find out that the track that leads to it is owned by the farmer, and they shut off the road, and it's just I mean
I think if you are going to go and live somewhere like that, then you need, and I'm talking from personal experience as well with breaking my arm last year, and we live out in the country, and there's a few jobs I'd do, like there's a palm tree that we're constantly cutting down, so it seems to grow a foot every month, and bits and bobs of carrying stuff about, even like getting the wood. We don't have any heating, we only have wood, and then I think you do as well, didn't you? I saw when you and things like. Just suddenly I was like, oh, hang on a minute, I can't do this. And after a month of me not doing anything, just the small bits you notice, So if you are going to live in the country, I think it's good to have that support network of gardeners and people you'd have to pay.
Yeah.
but you need, you know, to do
I
things.
mean, I didn't think personally I would ever live on a urbanisation, you know, for, you know, the usual thing, with all the expat people, they're also like a little England sort of thing. But it's not really. I mean, now things have changed over the past couple of years. The demographics now of still lots of English people coming over, but there's a lot more Dutch, Swedish, especially where we are now. Things are starting to change. You know, when I'm sat down having coffee in the morning, it's not all English people. It's Dutch and German. Not many Russians here, but it's sort of changing. But being on a big community like that, the community does so many things now. It does charity, lots of, you know, you couldn't get bored really. You know, lots of outings, groups going out doing stuff, which to me we wouldn't get back where I used to live in the UK. You know, you've got Facebook, I suppose, but here you have got groups where you can go off. People like to play bingo. I would, I wouldn't want to do that, but people love things like that, you know, or go out walking, or going out exploring, or going to visit, I don't know, a chocolate factory, which would be amazing. I haven't been one of them yet, but yeah, there's loads of things you can do here, and I think that's the other thing. And I mean, another thing that comes up a lot here, especially now, is about the language. I'm always getting people saying, "Oh, you've been in Spain now. You should be speaking fluently Spanish." But I get by. You know, I do speak some Spanish, not enough, not like you, Chris. You're like a native. But I get. You know, we got Google Translate. You got a lot more things to help us, and I've seen some people that have moved to like a Spanish town or something because they want to learn, you know, how the Spanish live and things like that. But they then find out that they've become isolated because those Spanish people, they're all working. So during the day, when they're just going down the cafe and nothing, there's nobody there. And we've had quite a few people break down because they've got depressed and they end up moving back into the bigger communities.
Yeah, it's you know, well, I was quite lucky with my Spanish. I came over when I was 21, celebrating 25 years this year here. And I think when you're 21 and I was pushed into a Spanish working environment, it's a lot easier to learn, especially if my social group naturally became the younger people around me who were all Spanish. So, you know, on that respect, I was lucky because it's just not what you're going to do when you retire. You don't, apart from the fact that your brain isn't exactly as spongy as it was when you were 21, you know, whether you like it or not. You know, you're 21, you can sleep 4 hours and work 15 and party the rest and still learn a language. Not saying I did that, but you can, you know, it's different. So I was lucky in that respect, but I, you know, completely understand how difficult it is when especially when you're coming from the UK and you're used to a completely different environment, used to a completely different way. You've got to adapt yourself, and it's somewhere you can't. They reckon that once your tongue past 21 years old, your tongue won't ever adapt to another language. You know, it's set. So you'll always learn it. But even me, I've still got an accent, though, you know, that you can tell that I'm not, you know, from here. Whereas you listen to my kids and they sound like they're from Malaga. But what about Mazarrón then? Just jumping back, how did you find it? Was that just a coincidence, or did you just go one day, you know, go into Google and go?
Yeah. I mean, what
Malaga?
we've done, if you haven't watched my videos, what we've done, we hired a camper van out for a month, and we thought what we'd do, we'd go down the east coast of Spain. We didn't pick any particular area, but what we thought we'd do is start from the top and end up in Malaga, and then, you know, because week by week sort of things. I mean, it took us a week to get through France. Not a week, but, you know, we was on to the northern parts of Spain, and it was cold up there. You know, we'd gone in February, and we'd gone through the Pyrenees with the snow, and I couldn't believe how windy it was in the northern part of Spain. And to be honest, northern part of Spain was very like the UK, really green, but it was the wind, and it just drew me head in. So I think that the nearest place we got to first was Valencia, and the price of property there was pretty good. We saw a couple of properties, really flat, and you could see, you know, what happened last year, you know, with the devastation there. It was so flat. Where we stayed up in the mountains, and we would come down to Valencia itself, not in the city itself, but on the outskirts, checking a couple of areas. But it didn't really appeal to me.
Yeah.
And then we carried on there to, we missed out Mazarrón, funny enough. We then booked up another place in Granada. We went to Granada. And of course, that Granada is Spain's so weird, because Granada's further down than Mazarrón, and we was up near the mountain area. God, it was cold.
Yeah.
Dogs barking all night. We stayed at this camp outside of a village, and this dogs were barking all night. I couldn't get any sleep, but it was just the road going up there. I'm all right. So we didn't want to live in a big town or the city or nothing, but we looked on the smaller villages, and that didn't appeal to us. The price of property was very good. And then we went down to Malaga, and then we went along the coast a bit to another site that we couldn't find in the end. The sat nav wouldn't let us take us there, but it was sort of around the back of Fingaroli. What's that place on the Mijas? Mijas.
Yeah.
I mean, but God, the price of property around there was just, I mean, one thing we did like was the temperature was a lot different down in Malaga way. We could take our coats off and walk about. It was just like summer, really. But the price of property, and to be honest, nothing around there really appealed to us. So we then come back to, I think it's called Nimes. Nimes?
Don't know it. I'll Google it.
Okay. Anyway, it was because what it was a campsite near there, and that looked quite nice. But they want a lot of property about. I mean, the other major problem that we had, and I still hear it from people, is emails. My Jan had a massive folder of property, and you know, with connections. Obviously, we were right. Every time we went to a campsite, we had internet, so we would email off a estate agent. Nothing. I think out of all, we got one was going to be a log cabin place that, for some reason, the guy couldn't make it. Even when we got the Mazarrón, we contacted a couple round here. Nothing. So it's virtually, we had to look ourselves, which was a bit difficult when you're traveling. You know, you ask, you know, for time and that. So anyway, we come back up and we booked in at Mazarrón down near the port in one of the big campsites there. And I couldn't believe how busy it was in February. Nearly all the sites were booked up. And I understand why. It's because they're like in the weather.
Yeah.
So I took Bonnie out one morning as the sun was coming up onto the beach. And I just said, that's it. I love it. I just loved it. The whole thing, everything felt, I hadn't found a house, but we just thought the location was amazing.
Brilliant.
So we then, obviously, because we was in the area, we'd found on the internet about Camposol. So we thought, we'll have a look, because obviously there, the price of property was really good. So we drove around Camposol. We looked at quite a few things about it, and we did fall in love with one property, but we hadn't sold our property in the UK yet, because obviously we wanted to make sure it was Spain for us. This is why I say about people, you got to come here and have a good look. You can't just wake up one morning, I say, I want to go to Spain. You've got to come here and have a look. And I've been over in the summertime when it's up in the 40s, so I know what the heat's like.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check the area that, it was right for us. So we'd seen this place on campus, so we liked it. We couldn't buy it. So the guy said, well, you hold it as long as you could. And then I think that was it then. We just said, yeah, that's it. So we drove back up the coast, made it sort of more of a holiday then. and then since we've got back in, we'd come into March by then, we'd put the house on the market. We'd sold it in about a month, and then as always, August come, it fell through, put it back on the market, and then it went again in September, and then it just dragged on right up to December, and because it was in a chain, and they said, "Yep, that's it, all sorted." A week before Christmas, we managed to get a rental on Camposol, so we just chucked everything in the car. All the other stuff was put into storage, and yeah.
That's amazing. It's true what you're saying about discovery trips. If the more not everybody can do it, but Spain is so vast, isn't it? It's so huge. We forget. I got a message today from somebody we've got to go and see tomorrow, and I was like, oh yeah, that's in Malaga. Yeah, Alameda. I was like, yeah, I've got to go to Alameda tomorrow, and I've got to take the kids and Lara with me as well. And then they sent me through and said, I'll drop me a location. 56 minutes away. It's like, you forget. I mean, Andalusia is huge, but Spain itself, I mean, it's so vast. So, sometimes I'll be talking to people now. So I say, where are you looking at moving? They'll be like, oh, we don't know, Murcia, Granada, Almeria, or Malaga sort of way. I'm like, you're really going to have to pinpoint something down because, you could be doing discovery trips, but you got to get your top checklist. Do you want coast? Do you want this? Do you want that? And then look at your areas because, as you say, the difference between a property in Mazarrón and Murcia and parts of Alicante to parts of Malaga is Malaga. Well, Malaga's shocking at the moment, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the other thing is what people want, really, isn't it? I mean, if people want entertainment, all the big shops, an easy commuting wise, because I mean, where we are in Mazarrón, they are starting to put in the high-speed train lines, but they're still way off yet. So the train side here is pretty pants. Yeah, the airports are good because we've got Alicante and we've got Murcia International now, so that's good. And the road system is amazing. But it's where we live. It's a farming area, and it's pretty quiet, outback sort of thing. Bit backdated, I suppose, in some areas. But whereas, obviously, if you want to live down to, I mean, Benidorm, I quite like going out there, visiting Benidorm. I mean, it's different lifestyle, further up. Some of the, I call it posh areas along the coast there. Lovely area. And then, obviously, you got the outskirts of Barcelona. And I haven't really gone over to the other coast, the west coast, mainly because that's more near the Atlantic and that. I'm hoping when Yogi comes over on his he's booked his trip in March.
Oh, is he? Can you give me more than a day's warning then if you're going to come to Malaga?
He hadn't planned nothing, you know what he's like. Anyway, we're going to go over to Seville.
Oh, brilliant.
I've heard a lot about that place. Nice, massive city.
I love Seville. Yeah, I love it. I did so much to do there. It's big though. It's huge, Seville.
Yeah. A lot of people say you got to go to Seville. And is that also near the border of Portugal?
So if you drive from Malaga, so when we drive to Portugal, it sounds like I do it all the time. I've only done it twice, but 3 times now we've driven on holiday to Portugal. And it's 5-hour drive. And from here, we have to literally go back on ourselves, go up through Antequera, hit the A92, and you go through Sevilla, literally through the middle of it. And then you go on to Huelva, and there's that big long road and takes you there. So it's about an hour and a half from the border.
Yeah.
But you go through it. There's no real way of avoiding Sevilla if you're driving to Portugal, if you're going if you're coming from this side of the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's one place I haven't been to yet. It's Portugal. I'd like to explore in that area. I think because we're just a little bit too far over. Well, obviously on the other side, really. But I'm amazed how quick you can get about. I mean, when we go down to see Eucharist, we're talking probably about 3.5-hour drive, and Gibraltar is just over a 5-hour drive. I mean,
the roads are amazing. So I went up to Castellón this year. Just on it was it was one of those. So we'd finally got and had a meal with some friends who are parents of our kids' friends, because when you're a parent, that's basically your social life revolves around other parents, doesn't it? And we finally got out a meal for us. They're really good friends of ours without any kids. It was the grandparents were there. We were like, right, loaded all the kids in the house, and we're all going out for a meal. And then a bottle of wine into the meal. Evidently, they said, "Oh, we've got an apartment. Or our parents have got an apartment. You could come to in Castellón. Why don't you come for a weekend?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'd be brilliant. Just agree into it. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. We put the dates in the diary. You know, Wednesday to a Monday, we said we'd do, just to get a couple of days extra in." And it was summer. And then, of course, the next morning I woke up and I said to her, "I think we agreed. And then we just checked that on the maps." I'm like, that's a 1,600 kilometer round trip. You know, but you know, we did it, and it was a nice drive. Yeah. We stayed over there actually in Mazarrón on the way out, and on the way back, we did it in one go.
Yeah, I mean, I've jumped in the car on my dog Bonnie. When Jan goes over to the UK, I go out and explore, and I jumped in the car and we drove the other side of Madrid. That's probably a good 3-hour drive to visit it was the place where Franco got buried first time, and obviously they've moved his body since. And I get there, and I don't know why. I've always learnt the lesson. Mondays is the worst day to go out because usually most places are shut. So it turns up at the gates. Open Tuesday. So my own mistake, I didn't bother checking. So I thought, oh, okay. So I drove then through the back the other way because there's an old power station that I wanted to photograph and video near, oh God, we're going up towards Barcelona. So I cut across country, and the weather, one minute it's lovely and sunny, and then it's pouring with rain, and it's just changes in the weather as you're traveling over to Spain. And I get up to this place, power station, in the afternoon, and the weather had turned, you know, and I just, can I stay out now? So we then just drove straight back. I hate to think what the mileage was, but I must have filled up the car about 3 times.
Yeah,
it's
such a vast
it's
country.
because of the roads. The roads are so amazing. You know, even though even some of the back roads you can get onto, you can just travel distance is just nuts.
Yeah. It's not a problem. I remember we used to live many moons ago. So 20 years ago since I met Lara. So I lived 25 years ago up in Tarragona near Barcelona, Salou. And when we were buying the property here in Andalusia, one year I traveled from Tarragona to Andalusia in 1 year 10 times. And we used to have to go the back way through Murcia, where you are. But instead of taking the toll roads, because then you had to pay for them, they're quite expensive, you used to follow the old lorry road. And you could leave there in the sun. You could literally, the flats of Murcia out by Jumilla and all the places that do the wine and all that. We could be in like horizontal wind and snow, because it was December coming down at you. And then you go over Granada, and we've seen Sierra Nevada where they've actually been like that much snow, and get down into Malaga, and it's like it's just incredible. The weather changes.
Yeah. I mean, we used to drive down to see my dad, all the way through France, and we're getting near the Sierra Nevada, and it's all got snow on it, and we're talking like September time, and you're thinking, wow, you think, God, this is gonna be cold here, and then, like you said, it just drops down, doesn't it, into Malaga. Total different climate. I mean, I understand why a lot of people live down that way, because the climate is different. But my dad did tell me, don't move to Mazarrón. Well, he said Murcia. They said they called it the frying pan area. It's one of the hottest areas. I think he's right.
I think you guys get, because I noticed that again this summer. We were traveling in July, and we left Castellón, very nice temperature there, about 28, 29. Round Valencia, headed inland, and then as we went past, well, you would have been very off to our left, but it got warmer and warmer until we finally got into just Granada, which was touching 42. And it said 42 in the car as we're driving. So you know that the air temperature is, because you're driving, so normally it cools down a bit.
Yeah.
And then when we dropped into Malaga, by the time we got home, to be fair, it was a bit later as well in the evening, it was down to 33. So to show the extremities of Spain, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But the so you've moved over. This I wanted to talk about, and you are now a YouTube star. So when you were walking around,
I don't think so. Yeah, but go on. I don't mind.
God, when you were walking around Camposol that first time, did you think, hang on a minute, I'm going to be expat in Mazarrón and make this place famous and get free breakfast everywhere I go, get free beer?
No. I wish.
So tell me more though. But you have got, is it 2 or 3 YouTube channels?
Yeah, I've got 3 now. 3 YouTube channels. So when I come over, I used to call myself Shaun Matthews Photography. And to be honest, it was more to do, I've just got into drones. And it was more to do a droney channel. But as I found, I've got a lot of interest in it really. But I found obviously people were starting to inquire a lot more about Camposol and the area. So it sort of changed. And after a while, I think I've been there about a year or so. And I thought, Shaun Matthews Photography does not make one attracting anything. So I thought, I don't know, maybe it wasn't a good idea. I thought I'll call myself Expat in Mazarrón. And then it just sort of grew really to what it is now. But what I found now is, because I call myself expat, I get a lot of people say, "Oh, you're not an expat, you're an immigrant." I know I'm an immigrant, but immigrant in Mazarrón didn't sound right.
The SEO was going to be crap on immigrant in Mazarrón, isn't it? Anyway, it's no good for the monetization.
I mean, I just delete those sort of questions anyway. But But my main hobby here is, believe it or not, is my drones. I love drones, so I made up a new channel called Shaun the Drone, because I do gabble on a bit when I'm talking about drones, and it's all about learning how to fly them and things like that. And then I had another channel, and it was just because I used to once a month take people out on walks, and I called it the Camposol Explorers.
Right.
But the channel itself didn't get. Funny enough, I do a lot of exploring videos, and it never seemed to get any views really. I mean, some people watch it, but it wasn't doing anything. So, the end of last year, I decided to change the name, and I changed it to something like retire. No, anyway, you spoke to him the other week, Barry.
All right.
Now Barry's big into YouTube, and he has a few channels, and he was telling me, he said to me, look, he knows all the, I don't know how YouTube works and all that stuff, but he said, you want to call it Retiring to Spain, because you get a lot more, there's a lot more tags or whatever in there. So I changed it, and it only had like 200 views, 200 subscribers, and now watching you lot, I'm just touching 1,000 now. So, and that's just another thing is I'm gonna have. She didn't know that I'm gonna have the wife in it now. So I've done a couple of cameos of me and the wife just doing things around. And here she is. She's just come in now.
Come say hello.
Come and say hello, Mrs.
Oh no! Hello.
You got a bit over here a bit.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can widen the camera a bit. So there you go. I can see you both now.
You're in it now.
So you're both going to feature in this channel then?
Yeah. Retiring to Spain. It's going to be more about our own sort of opinions, really, on we've been here 9 years, sort of thing, and what have we missed, and just sort of everyday sort of life things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Problems that we come up with.
What are we doing?
What we got to do. People seem to like that.
It's. I think, as I said before, about them videos that you're doing. That is just an amazing thing, because this is what people want. You know, people want, there's so much, I'm not going against the Facebook groups, but there's so many people asking so many questions on Facebook, which is just impossible to answer because everybody's circumstance is different. You know, and even I found with my, and I don't know if it's just because people started following our channels and stuff like that, but people really do turn to YouTube to find real stories, find opinions more now. You know, because there's more people doing it, and I think it's brilliant. You know, I think
it's not just that, is it? I mean, there's a lot of people even back in the UK that can't ever move away, or they're stuck at home inside. They don't go out, and they just want to be, I call it nosy, but you know, pleasantly nosy. They want to see what people are doing.
But also, Chris, I noticed lately, especially the past since end of last year, a lot of misinformation seems to be getting out there again, and it's scaring people. One of them I come up with was about the S1. Somebody was saying, "Oh, you can't get covered now," so obviously people think, "Oh, I can't afford private health," you know, especially if they're retired. That was one of the big things that kicked off. And then we were on about how much money you got to have in your bank account. Those figures were getting blown up more and more. And I think people then started thinking, oh.
Well, I think I mean, it's sad. I think, again, YouTube has its good and bad things. I mean, we're quite lucky because our channel, we have monetized our channel now, actually, but we don't do it for the monetization because it's good for us because people find us for it. So it's mainly business. But there is that, and you were saying about how YouTube works. Now, I released a video yesterday, and I've been studying about how to get more views and stuff like that. And I followed quite a few of the rules. And that video is sat at around 1,300 views at the moment, where most of my videos only get 100. So it does work if you find these heavy hitting titles and stuff. But unfortunately, that works badly as well, because some people, like we had it with the draft immigration law, where people were just publishing things about, oh, it's going to be 4 years, you're never going to have the money to, you know, it was just a draft. You should, that's just clickbait. That was just pure and utter clickbait on information that hadn't been signed off. Now we have the law. Now we can all go mad, and like my video I did yesterday, so this will go out on Saturday, so it came out on Wednesday the 1st, was based on one line in the law, just explaining what it is. That's fine, but the problem is negativity causes clickbait and stuff, and people get money from it, don't they?
Yeah, I also think it depends, you know, people clicking in, as you call it, clickbait. I'm a great YouTube person, and I'll just, if I'm feeling bored, I'll go to YouTube.
But she didn't watch my channels.
Same as Lara. Lara doesn't watch me.
I do sometimes.
Hey, don't you watch that pottery stuff?
I watch
how to make a pot plant.
Yeah. So
it is true. Like, you know, Lara doesn't watch mine.
Sorts of things. I mean, well, I'm a history person as well. I love anything with a bit of history. So, but I mean, that's a big following. It depends what's current, you know, what people like at the moment.
Well, I mean, how much does it help with things like, so this Christmas, I've been learning how to work things like this software we're using now, and another Google thing that I don't think I've read anything. It's all been on YouTube. Just watching other people doing it.
This is what, at the end of the day, this is what YouTube's about, and it's about wanting information, isn't it? Knowing how to do something. How to do some work. But
I've just been doing it now. I've had this Cricket Explore Air since 2000. Well, I brought it over with us, so that's, you can see how far that is. 2014. I've used it 2 or 3 times. That's it. It's just been sat on the cupboard, and at the moment I'm trying to update it and do something.
And YouTube's helping.
And YouTube is helping to a degree, but it's doing all right. And I'm just about to use your printer to print off all the pages. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got some exciting plans. So you're going to keep up with Expat in Mazarrón anyway, yeah? You're going to keep that one going.
Yeah. We're just taking a different slant on it.
Yeah,
really.
I want to, like you said, when I did the interview with, because I think they used you. No, they didn't. No, they didn't use you. Didn't they think about it? I can't forget their names now. I did it. Yeah, I did an interview with them because they've only been there 5 weeks, and it was interesting because 5 weeks. You know, there's just settling. They got so much to do and take in. And I said to them, your first year is going to be like being on holiday in a sense, but they've got a lot to do. Yeah.
And it's I suppose it's with the Expat in Mazarrón. I mean, people follow you now, but it's going to be people who live here maybe. But the whole retiring to Spain, as you say, people who, what we found as well is there's some people who we've been speaking to might not be able to retire for 6 or 7 years, but they become familiar with a place where they're dreaming to go. You know, and if you've got the Retire to Spain channel, even if it's not happening now, it's never going to happen ever. Even when they visit, they suddenly feel like they're part of that community, which ultimately helps that connection with Spain, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a few people, obviously, to do more medical reasons why they just can't come to Spain, but they just like watching me gabble on about my daily, because I used to do a daily vlog thing. So they still, So obviously, there's that connection with Spain still. You know, I mean, can't keep out plugging the weather. I mean, today it's another amazing day out there, Chris, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, I don't know what it's like there, but it's
blue sky, mate. Blue sky. I don't know what the temperature is here. I don't know. Probably your way. Let's have a look here.
We're what we at?
So it's only 16 today. But you know.
But I think that's false because it says it's. I mean, if you sit in the sun, I could get burnt any time of the year. As you can see, I'm not exactly not native olive skin, have I? But you know, it's blue skies. It's warm. I mean, I've got one of my friend's sons is helping me do the gardening at the moment, so he's coming round. He's off school at 10. Well, off college at 10 every day, and by about 11 o'clock he's there. You know, shorts and t-shirt on because it's so warm. You know, so I mean, it's amazing, and I think people just love to see it.
You've got ink, man.
Hey,
I've just done.
You got to clear off. I'm on a thingy here, you know.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I've just done 7 pages. Well, I was.
Anyway,
look, blank.
Oh no, you've got to buy some ink. You need to get on the Amazon and buy some of that cheap ink. You see,
come back tomorrow, lovey.
That's why I can't use mine because I'm not no ink.
Yeah.
You can tell this has all been planned, can't you?
Oh yeah. I can tell. Yeah, that's right. Well, you need to get some of that cheap ink off of Amazon. But
what's this? Is this the ink?
That's the old ink.
That's the old ink.
Yeah. Anything else, Chris?
No. So basically, plans for the future are just you're going to keep up with Expat and Mazarrón.
Yeah.
You're going to very exciting news about the Retire to Spain. So
I want to obviously get that up and going. It's like anything else, isn't it? Because it's the end. It's been the end of the year and coming into a new year. Nothing's happening really in January. I haven't got any sort of thing this month, but on the Expat, I want to concentrate more on the interviews. I'm hoping to get a few more people that are just coming over, or even if I can, there is another couple. I'm useless at names. There's another couple that've got a YouTube channel. I think they're still working back in the UK, and obviously there's another thing with the non-lucrative. They've got to make sure they finish their job before they move there. Yeah. And I think it's something else. I still get people saying, "Oh, I didn't know about that. I thought this non-lucrative had been out quite a few years now." There's still quite a few people.
Well, you can never. This is what we're reminding ourselves of all the time. Like because it's post-Brexit world and UK citizens are third country nationals, every time we start with a new client, we have to constantly remind ourselves that we have to say, right, just think they don't know anything. Because you assume because you live here and it's in your daily sort of talking about it, and you'd know about it purely for the fact that you live in an expat community, is that people know, but they just don't. They're doing the research from the UK. So every time, one of the biggest mistakes I think companies make is they'll just go, oh, you need your NIE, you need your Padron, you need this, you need that, and then people go, oh, hang a minute, what's an NIE? That's one of our plans this year, is to go back through the channel and just go back to basics again and just explain stuff, because we sort of assume that people know and they don't. The same as if I was to suddenly go, right, I want to go and move to Germany, for example, that I wouldn't know other than what I've started to read online, whereas a community of expats living in Germany, evidently they're going to know. So I think that going back to basics and getting people on your channel who have just moved over and explaining the basics is a fantastic thing to do.
Because I meet also people who come over here. Obviously, they're looking at property, and they obviously fall in love with property, and then the Spanish solicitor or lawyer say, "Oh, don't worry about it. We can deal with that." Only to find out, obviously, they're quite happy to take your money off you, and then they don't tell you, oh yeah, by the way, you got to go back to the UK and go into the embassy to do the paperwork side of it. And I think I get that quite a few times. I think that's a bit naughty when, I don't know if it's connected to the agents or whatever. It's sort of conning people a little bit. So
it's to get the sale, isn't it? I mean, it's everybody's business is different. So you'll be somebody who's selling a house won't particularly be worried about the immigration side of things. They, someone who's doing immigration is not worried about the paperwork for the house, but they're certainly looking at how's that going to affect what's going to happen to somebody. I mean, one of the biggest myths for people is that they have to buy a property before they get a visa. You don't. I think that's one of the biggest myths going out, out there.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's well, I think you need to definitely on your retiring thing. I'd get a visa expert on there anyway to do a show if I was you. I think it'd be a good idea.
I will, Chris. Good thinking, that one. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, that's the other thing. I run a Facebook group as well, which is connected to me Expat. Mm-hmm. And obviously, a lot of people that make comments on there think they know it all. But at the end of the day, I always try and say you got to ask the experts, really, because they know the job. Listening in a pub and just caught a bit of information about the 90-day things finishing and all that stuff. Don't especially money, It
is, and you get a lot. I mean, I stay off of Facebook, and I've actually been banned from lots of groups because a lot of the groups are set up by people who are essentially looking for work. So which is fine. That's the beauty of the world we live in, that you can do that, use social media for your own purposes, but then there's no sort of free market on there, because anybody else who gets recommended like me gets banned. So there's a lot of groups I'm not in, and I took the choice a long time ago. I don't answer any questions on there or anything, so I just think, you know what, we've got the YouTube channel. If anybody wants to ask me anything, they can ask me there. We've got the lives that I do, and so I don't need to be getting into coulda, woulda, shoulda Facebook arguments. I just don't need to, So I took that decision a long time ago before Brexit, and I'm sticking to it. And we had a recommendation on a very big expat thing the other day, and I just went through and thanked everybody for recommending us. But I wouldn't be answering questions unless there's something that's simple. I maybe have the video link, but the general rule, I just don't get involved. Plus, I think that I can imagine if my clients saw me in a Facebook argument trying to prove something there, I'd be thinking, why is he not working on our behalf? He shouldn't be on Facebook. So I don't get involved in Facebook, really, to be honest. But it is what it is. So, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Well,
all right. So, you got anything to tell us before you wrap up? Any surprises coming apart from the retiring to Spain? You've got some little trip with Yogi next year where you're going to
No, this year. Don't forget, Chris. It's this year.
This year, we just have to
He's
say.
He's already booked his flight.
People who are listening to this on Spotify or watching us, Yogi is a good friend to both the channels. He's to Shaun, and they've come down to visit me.
Yogi's must have so many channels that he watches. Makes you wonder how he does any work myself. But yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to going over to Seville because one place I've never been to. Like you said, you've seen the videos, you've seen the photographs, but actually going to these places, it's like Malaga. Oh, God, it's such a wonderful city, especially down at, I call it the docks, down at the harbour.
Yeah.
God, there's some rich people down there. Some of those boats that obviously like a yacht, isn't it? And it's like a battleship. And you think, one bloke owns that. But the whole area, even there, that's changed. When I used to go down there with my dad, it was just a base at harbour. But now it's a bit posh, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible down there. You'll see when you get to Sevilla, you'll be blown away. Yeah. So, that's amazing. So you've got Sevilla coming up. And any other plans then for the rest of the year?
Well, what I've noticed with my drone channel, because that's starting to grow now, I'm getting a lot more people ask me, can I do reviews? And I've just, this past week, I was pretty impressed by the Chinese, because everything comes from China. And they want me to review it's only a cheap beginner's drone, and it come, I think, just after Christmas, middle of the night, and then I got a power station being sent to me to test out. Never done one of them. So I'm hoping that this year I'm going to get a lot more stuff sent to me to try out, and I'm only going to say it's rubbish or whatever. But I want to, going back on the Expat again, I want to do a lot more interviews with people. You probably don't know, but there's Chris and Lillian who own a house come cave house, which they're trying to do like a non-lucrative. No, they're trying to do Airbnb business. Right. And Lillian can speak, just like you, Chris, really good Spanish. And the problems they've had, because where they are, the planning is so strict there. They can't even put a wooden shed up. Where we are, we can put a wooden shed up. We don't need nothing. But where they are, now, I think that's another thing about moving to Spain. You do need to do a bit more research on the area, because each region has their own set of laws, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. And if you're buying in, like you say, where you are, which would be urban ground, you want to put a shed up, no problem. But if you're living somewhere which is protected or whatever, you can't. So it's all right looking at a place which is, surrounded by lots of nice land and it's a small house. You might think, we'll add a bathroom onto that, and you can't. It's just impossible.
Yeah. But you're probably told that at the beginning when you're looking at, no problem. But when it comes to actually doing it, I mean, this is things that I've been learning since I've been here in Spain. I didn't realise that some areas are so strict and they do things differently. And this is why I quite want to get more into the interviewing with people from different areas.
Get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, the nitty gritties. I mean, and I'm on the other side of this. I've got a few people going back to the UK because things just haven't worked out. Right.
Yeah. I mean, there is that side of the story as well. People have come and it just hasn't worked out, or they don't like it, or they can't stand the weather, or just don't feel like they feel at home here and leaving. It's you've got to cover it all, haven't you?
Yeah.
And that comes with its whole paperwork process as well. You can't just up and leave. You've got to deregister.
No.
Anyway, right, Shaun. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris. That's what I want to
say. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will get this. Don't forget, you guys, you can watch this. Shaun, I don't know your wife's name. That's terrible.
Oh, that's Jill.
Shaun and Jill.
No, Jan.
Jan, that's it. I'm sure you've mentioned Jan in videos. I will never forget now. Thanks, Jan, for coming on. We look forward to seeing some more of your retiree videos. and we'll get. What I'll do is I will send me the links, and I'll put them below on the Spotify and the YouTube bios, so people.
Oh yeah.
Right, so send me all the links to all your channels, and hopefully I may even see you in March. Then, if you're coming past Malaga way.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll imagine Yogi will pop down your way as well. Anyway.
I reckon, but could you give me more than a day's notice?
Yeah, I think we're talking.
It's a shame your parents aren't down there.
It's about the middle of March that he's booked it for the week. Yeah. So middle of March. Make sure you're not there.
I'm going away for March. That's what it is.
He'll be watching this anyway, so he'll be straight in contact with you, Chris.
Yeah, let me know. Give me a day or so's warning, or even if I drive, I may even drive up somewhere to meet you as well and see somewhere new.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, and hopefully we'll do one a bit later in the year and see if your plans came to fruition as well.
Yeah. All right, and Chris. Adios, amigos.
Adios.
Bye.